Hello and welcome to today's show, Ghosts of Saltmarsh behind the screen. My name is Guy and we are half an hour or so before the live show. So if you are here for the live show, go grab some popcorn, go and grab something to drink, sit back, relax and enjoy, and join us again on the hour. So the reason for that, spoilers ahead. We will be talking about what's coming up in today's show. So bear that in mind. Spoilers galore. Now, you can also ask your questions because, well, this whole thing is about you unpacking and seeing into my head in terms of what I'm planning for the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. To preempt any questions that might arise based on the actual adventure book, how closely is Ghosts of Saltmarsh aligned with the content of that book that was released, Ghosts of Saltmarsh? It came out a couple weeks ago now. It's inspired by the Ghosts of Saltmarsh, the town Ghosts of Saltmarsh. All of the NPCs that the characters have met thus far, barring one of them, have pretty much been on par with what was prescribed in the book. Saltmarsh was an incredibly wonderful, very politically rich environment for players, characters to participate in. And if you watch any of the other playthroughs that have been rolling around on the internet in terms of Ghosts of Saltmarsh, you'll notice that the player characters arrive in this town and there's so much going on that it's just a really wonderful environment to be in. Today sees us on episode 7 of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. There are only 12 scheduled to be in this series, and that means we're going to have to look at our plot sequence to see just where we stand. If we go to our plot screen, you're gonna try. Oh, it's me on me. That's, of course it's me on me because I've got this open so I can see what you're talking about. And I've got that one open. Oh my goodness, give me a second here. Where the hell's our plot screen? There it is. Okay, right. It wouldn't be a show with me in it if there wasn't a technical mistake, was there? Of course not. I'm sitting here going, where's the plot screen? Oh, yeah, that's a good point. All right, so there we go. There's the plot screen. This is a plot adventure outline that I created, and you can download it free off of our website, www.greatgamemaster.com. You can grab that little template where you fill it in, and this is for an entire campaign, but it's also useful in terms of, say, a shorter campaign like Ghosts of Saltmarsh. There are the 12 adventures that we should have run through. So we're on number 7 now, so that would be Sea Battle, Sinister Secret, Lizard Alliance, Aquatic Adventure. So that's where we should be by now. We should be on the Aquatic Adventure, PC background, the Black Tide tries to destroy the aquatic race. That is roughly where we need to be in terms of the plot. Where are we? We are 2 behind as a matter of fact. We're still in the Lizard Alliance. It doesn't mean necessarily that we are off track or that we should be panicking or that suddenly the whole adventure should just come to an end or that our players are bad players or that the GM has been a bad GM. Not in the slightest. I know where a mistake occurred in terms of my timing for this adventure. I gave too much time to one of the player characters' backstories and got in a space where I couldn't get out of. I had to explore it. At the same time, it is not a shackle or a curse that I consider bad. I thoroughly enjoyed exploring Salt's backstory and link with Gellin Primewater. I thought that was very interesting. I thought it was a great role-playing opportunities. We also got to explore the Chacon's relationship with his nan a little bit. And so we got more than just the plot of finding out about the Black Tide and then wandering around the haunted mansion in episodes 2 and 3. We got much more information. Episode 4 was when we kind of got into the mansion, and 5 and 6 is where sort of the mansion stuff has now played itself out. So I don't think that it was a bad mistake to have made. I just explored the character backstory. So when we talk about the difference between railroading versus, say, sandboxing, this is this plan behind me looks like it's railroading. It's saying, well, no, you must be there, you must be there, you must be there. But I'm not forcing anything. I'm not saying, okay, well, we're going to cut this one short, we're going to cut that one short. We are just responding to what the player's story is. They're making the story as they're going along. They're discovering it, they're exploring it. So now our roles as Dungeon Masters, my role in this particular game, is to say, okay, well, that was my plan. How has it changed? How has it evolved? And what's happening? So I still need to get the Lizard Alliance in place. So that is my goal for today. Now, when I go to the Ghosts of Saltmarsh book, there is an entire adventure, a wonderful, wonderful adventure, Danger at Dunwater Bay, which is all about this Lizardfolk alliance. Now, they look at various ways that the party can get into this adventure. My party, of course, have been taken there directly by the Lizardfolk who came to rescue them from almost certain death in the crazy haunted mansion. So I kind of circumnavigated a lot of the stuff that the normal player characters might go through if they're just walking into the Danger of Dunwater Bay adventure on their own volition. The actual adventure itself, it is about building a political alliance. It absolutely is. And there's a mechanic that they've put into the adventure whereby the player characters have to accumulate 50 diplomatic points. Now, they accumulate these points basically by going around and talking to the Lizardfolk in this lair and trying to get them on their side. If they talk about things of honor, if they offer the Lizardfolk value, the Lizardfolk will then award them 1 or 2 or 3 diplomatic points, while the DM will anyway. If, on the other hand, they talk about underhanded tactics or they try and coerce or bribe certain Lizardfolk, that will happen as well. And there is an interesting political element within the Lizardfolk. That's certainly a theme that runs throughout all of the adventures, almost, of Ghosts of Saltmarsh, is there's strong political factions. And in this case, within the Lizardfolk, there's a strong faction of the shamans being very adverse to working with the other races. And the queen of the Lizardfolk, Otho Kent, being very pro an alliance with the other races. So if the characters are speaking to the shaman and they are particularly human, or they pro-human, or they pro-alliance, the shamans give them negative diplomacy points. If they are talking to the queen or the queen's supporters, they get positive diplomatic points. So it's a complicated, or not a complicated, it's fairly straightforward. But the idea is once they get to 50 points, then the lizard folk agree to an alliance with Saltmarsh to fight this unknown enemy. At least in the book it's unknown. By the time they finish up the Lizardfolk adventure, it is then known. In our case, though, because we have the black tide that's sweeping through, killing and destroying everything, there is a definite enemy, so the alliance factor is much higher. So what am I going to be doing in today's game? Today's game, because I have to try and make up time, I really only have 5 shows left. That's all that's left of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. 5 episodes. So I need to start wrapping up. We're already halfway through. What this means is in today's episode, my goal will be to get the party into a nice cohesive space. They've now had long rests, they've leveled up, they're now all level 3, and they can now start to work towards the goal. We've moved beyond halfway of the campaign, and when you look at this master plot, you'll see that halfway through is when we start getting to testing stuff. Now that's when the villain is testing stuff. When it's the hero's journey, which is what this has turned out to be, when it's the hero's journey, by testing stuff, it means that they are now formulating a plan. So they are now moving forward. They have some of the tools necessary to defeat the villain. So now that's what they're going to start doing. At least that's what they should start doing. So that's where we need to start moving. They now go, okay, we know about the Kraken. We know some things about the Kraken. They're going to learn a few more little tidbits today in today's episode in terms of the black rainbow, the black font of necrotic energy that's pouring out of those statues. They're going to learn what that does. So by the time they leave the Lizardfolk today, and that is my goal, is to get them back to Saltmarsh by the end of today's episode, is by the time they leave, they're going to know how and why that black ribbon of energy is there. They're going to know what it's doing, and they're going to have a plan on how to at least try to overcome this undead lich and, well, the lich and his undead Kraken. So that will then give them impetus, in theory, for them to move on to get to the point where they can defeat this thing, because in 4 episodes' time, we go into the last episode, and that is defeating the Kraken and the Lich. Hopefully, or not, if they don't play their cards right. So it's going to be something to look at. It's going to be interesting to see. I think that's enough from the plot that we have seen. I'm going to go to questions now. So if there are any questions, I don't even know if there are any questions. I'm going to close that and let me go there. If you have, okay, so there are some questions. Fantastic. If you have questions, just write the big bold word question in the front, and then I can find them easily enough. Okay, so the first question that I can see just casually here is AK Writer says, have you considered introducing an own lycanthrope variant for sea-based people, such as were-krakens, werepus, or weracuda? I have not. I think it's a lovely idea. I think if you have lycanthropy, except that it wouldn't necessarily be with a full moon. I think it would be every time that there's a spring tide, the were curse would kick in, and you get weracuda, werepuses, and were-krakens. I think, or werakens, I suppose it would be. So that could be quite fun, and I do like that. And you know, when you are playing a campaign where you have theoretically lots of underwater stuff happening, it's good to have these kinds of thoughts and say, well, sure, let's have that. Why not? Why not? Why not? I like that. Next question is from Roach DE. How dangerous can Flick be with respect to forging an alliance? Yes, how dangerous can he be? He's currently sitting on 399 pounds and a couple ounces of gnomish fire crystals. Who knows? Who knows? You know, oftentimes I wonder, do I set my players up to destroy themselves and the campaign by giving them cool stuff? Or, you know, do they... I don't know. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I think that the seeing the dead bodies was reason enough to perhaps bring a little focus. Although he did blow up Pinky at the last show, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You tell me, what do you think the option, the chances are? White Tiger 225 says, now that they're level 3, will things still one-shot them? What was the side effect, or was that just a side effect of being level 1? Look, level 3, they've got a few more hit points. You're going to see those character sheets updated. They've got now 28 hit points on average. Flick is still obviously underneath that. So they have a bit more hit points, so hopefully not one shot. I mean, 28 damage to deal in one round. It's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible, but it's now a little bit less likely that they're going to go down in one round. Of course, hitting themselves has always been a factor so far in this campaign. I don't see it stopping anytime soon either. So there is that. When we then look at the skills and things that they've had, they've each taken their various level 3 things. I think we've got a Druid of the Moon now. I think the Oath for the Paladin was Devotion. I stand to be corrected. So there's some cool stuff that's come through. Salt is going to be a bit more tactical as well. Flick will be going first on most occasions. You know, so there's some upgrades that'll happen. You'll see those in the character sheets as we get through that, as the show runs on. Right. Any other questions? Yes, Honourable 596 says, is there any possibility of WotC giving you more seasons? You never know. If you bombard WotC with Twitter saying, we really love Ghosts of Saltmarsh, we love the international team, we want to see more of them, sure, that might happen. There have been some whispers in the background of perhaps a second season. We'll have to look at that. Of course, Gen Con being a big disruptor in the middle of all of this. Gen Con 1st of August to the 4th of August. If you're going to be there, look out for myself, look out for Michael, or for Janet. All three of us are going to be at Gen Con this year. I'm running 2 seminars, one with Janet on world building and one on inserting a giant banana. And then I'll be playing and GMing another game that you might be familiar with, the Save or Dice show that I run. So we'll be doing all kinds of fun things at Gen Con. But yeah, a second season would be a lot of fun. The question is, what would we do then once we've killed giant krakens and things? Or perhaps it's actually killing the giant kraken. Who knows? Hopefully not. But hopefully we will resolve this before that then happens. So, right. BNAA UK says, when you finish this campaign, will you be back on the D&D Twitch channel? All right, so yeah, same kind of question. We would definitely like to be. We would certainly like to come back, but we do our very best to entertain you guys, and viewership numbers is what gets one back. So yeah, our fate is in your hands. Let it be known. Vadiar says, will there be consequences for the rest of the crew now that Salt & Co. made off with the fire crystals, thus ruining Primewater's schedule and insulting him yet again? Vadiar, it's a very good question. And if you recall, when they left, Gellin had already assumed ownership of the second chance. But now this is where we get to the point where we say, okay, we have our principal plot. Let's look at this from different angles and see which one gives us a more interesting story. Gellin is at his estate. He is expecting that there will be an announcement that the fire crystals have arrived. That announcement should come from San Ballet, who was the principal operator of that little clandestine operation in the mansion. San Ballet does not report back. They did say that there was going to be a 24-hour delay. So the delay happens. Gellin sends someone to go check. They go and check. Now, at this point, neither the players or the player characters know what would happen. The last they remember was the Lizardfolk executing these various bandits and things and then leaving. What happened after that? Were there some Lizardfolk left behind? I don't think so. It doesn't inspire me that that would be something logical. So, they find these corpses. Their throats slit with these savage weapons. There's massive signs of damage everywhere. The Lizardfolk also, we didn't indicate that they claimed that we claimed the body of the fallen lizard prince. Would they have left it behind? Conceivably not. Conceivably they would have taken it with them to give a proper burial to, if that is the culture of the Lizardfolk. So let's park that for now. That's a little piece of evidence which we could use for or against in terms of this thinking process that I'm going through. They don't find the Lizardfolk prince, they just find death everywhere, and it's all Gellin's people. They don't find any evidence of Salt or his crew. The immediate assumption that Gellin is going to go to is that Salt has betrayed him, and that Salt has stolen his fire crystals, because in theory they should have been delivered, although there is no evidence of them being delivered. A really good investigation check might reveal boat dragging stuff in and out of the cave. All that indicates, and to a paranoid mind, would be that the fire crystals were delivered, Salt and crew killed everyone, and stole the fire crystals on a second ship. I don't think it would be a stretch of the imagination for Gellin Primewater to go, Salt's not stupid. I'm stupid. He wouldn't sail in on such a damaged vessel. That was a ruse. He actually has a ship out in harbour somewhere that he's been operating from. And that's where the actual fire crystals have gone. So Gellin will organise for people to go and look for this ship that now doesn't exist. It goes off, it looks for the ship, it doesn't find it, it comes back, Gellin gets angry. He will most likely do what he has done before, and what was established, even though a lot of it was gossip, is that he will hire bounty hunters to go and find Salt and company. Okay, so we could park a bounty hunter encounter, which could be quite fun if I had lots of time. I don't have lots of time, so let's look at it. Let's reverse that sequence of events and go back a little bit. What if the lizard prince had been left behind? They find this lizard corpse. It's curious. They look at some of the damage inflicted on the pirates and bandits within the mansion. There is definite signs of obsidian blades. They have a very distinctive cut shape as opposed to a steel blade. Could it be, quite possibly, that these lizard folk have stolen the crystals and have taken Salt and company as slaves? That's not unknown, and it does fit with some of the evidence if that lizard prince is left behind. What that then does is Gellin now changes from being someone who's going to send bounty hunters after our people, and when our people arrive back in Saltmarsh, he is going to be fuming, and he won't be doing, oh, let's be happy and kind and nice to everybody. He will be just killing and maiming and slaughtering. That's not the outcome we want, because that's going to lead to all kinds of player problems. If we killed off the NPCs that were on that ship, the players would go ballistic, and Gellin that would shift our entire focus of the game to Gellin. So by leaving the Lizardfolk Prince behind as evidence, it simply allows us to then have Gellin assume that Salt has been taken as a slave. So when Salt returns, if the players are sharp enough in terms of the way that he's behaving, they should be able to fly under the radar and let Gellin say, well, you were taken as slaves, it's not your fault. Well, the Admiral's ship is repaired now, and we don't have the fire crystals, so we can't destroy anything, so it is what it is, and we will have to figure out some of that payment. That, to me, allows the narrative to continue forward. It doesn't demean the story very much, and so I think that's the way that it's going to play out, is that will happen. Now, all of this is in the background. The players won't know any of this until they get back. It's a good question to ask, though, so there we go. That's why we did that, or why I answered that as much as I did, because that's the tactic I'm going to take. Right, next question is AK Writer again. What method do you usually prefer for your players to determine abilities, number of hit points, and so on, rolling point by average stats? Well, when you're using Fantasy Grounds, which we are, they are our sponsor of the show as well, but Fantasy Grounds is, they are point by, generally speaking, and then obviously your racial ability modifiers and stuff. And when it comes to hit points, Fantasy Grounds automatically rolls for you, and you get those rolls. You can go in and change them if you don't like them, but ultimately we just use the Fantasy Ground method of character creation. Under normal circumstances, if I'm sitting around a table and we're rolling dice, I will say, well, you can either take average or your die roll, re-rolling ones. So if you get a 2, that's it. You're stuck with a 2. But if you get the higher number, you get the high number. So there we go. Next question. Pirate Knight 1 says, is the mayor of Saltmarsh a part of the Black Tide? Saltmarsh doesn't actually have a mayor. They've got various individuals who are part of the Council of Saltmarsh. So you have Gellin Primewater, who's just a smuggler and a low-life type of person. Then you have Anders Solmore, who has a lot more to do with this plot than is let on. It certainly wasn't part of the original Saltmarsh adventure book scenario, but he is there. He's definitely an NPC that has a lot of backstory, a lot of options for characters to interact with. So I have tacked him into the black water, well, into the tide, this black tide. So yes, definitely I have linked him in there. And then there's some other council members we haven't yet met. Eli, the sheriff / guardian, we haven't yet seen, and you will discover when we get back to town that things have changed dramatically anyway, with the Admiral arriving and throwing his weight around. So there we go. Another question from AK Writer. What are Chacons afraid of? What are their horror stories about? Empty food chambers. As a matter of fact, the Chacon are deathly afraid of lizardfolk. They are their mortal enemies. Simply because they kind of swim in the same waters. Lizardfolk like to swim in the shallows, Chacon like to hunt in the shallows, so there's often a bit of a rivalry that goes on there. So there is definitely that, something to look at, which is pretty scary. And I've got time for one more question or so, if there is any, but I don't see any having come through. So let's see. No more questions. All right. Well, a council should have a speaker, yes, for sure, and that speaker is Eli, whom we haven't met, the sheriff. So yeah, there was a big council session being called, if you recall, as Flick and Indigo were leaving their encounter with Skellen, who was causing some issues. But yep, so there we go. The council does have a speaker. We just really haven't got there. So yeah. All right, well, we've got 3 minutes left. The only other thing I think that is important to maybe look at in terms of discussing things is the map. Have you guys been doing the treasure hunt? Those of you that are in chat, have you been doing the treasure hunt for Mama Sarduk's treasure? The rewards are just amazing. The prizes are just from everywhere. We've got Fantasy Grounds licenses, we've got Dungeon Fog licenses, we've got World Anvil licenses, we've got some amazing books from Dungeons and Dragons, a core rulebook set, plus then obviously the special edition of Ghosts of Saltmarsh book. So I hope you've been doing the map. You get a new clue today, clue number 7. And if my memory serves me, this is the clue that should, if you are a little bit lost, bring you back onto track. Or if you are on track, just reaffirm that you are. So I hope that you are doing it, because I think it is a lot of fun. Stephen, yes, I am on the D&D channel, have been for the last 7 weeks, and hope to be here for a lot longer, as a matter of fact. But that remains to be seen. Roach DE, I hope you are not indicating that because you're from Germany you can't participate in the map competition. The map competition is being run by How to Be a Great GM, and we're based in Tokyo, so we're shipping those books everywhere and anywhere in the world. There is absolutely no restriction, by the way. No restriction. You can go where you like. Absolutely where you like. There are 5 episodes left. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 6 episodes. There are 6 episodes left. Cheswick students, 6 episodes left. Last question. Is winning a game with you as a GM one of the treasure hunt prizes? No, I think we want to give away something that's of value. So yes, it's a nice question, Ackwriter. There are ways to game with me if you become a patron of the YouTube channel. How to Be a Great GM. You can, on a monthly basis, I call for volunteers and things. So there we go. All right, we got to go to Ghosts of Saltmarsh. So grab your hats, fasten the button down the hatches, and let's fill our sails with hot air as we head on over to the Ghosts of Saltmarsh.
We fought them in the air, on land, and under the waves. But it wasn't enough. Brave folk banded together, united in hope and allied in goal. But it wasn't enough. The black tide brought with it an evil of terrible power. Darkness sank into the hearts of us all. For we knew, as above in the skies we lost, so on land we'd lose. And our only hope was below. But it wasn't enough. Forces unknown to us were at work, and in those dark days it found purchase wherever it touched. For our best wasn't enough. And yet, a single light burns in the dark night, and it might be enough.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Curse of Saltmarsh. We are full crew as usual, so let's get on with it. All the way from, let's start with Michael, all the way from Australia. Michael, hello, welcome, thank you for joining us on the show. How are you feeling about today's show?
Oh, I'm feeling absolutely great, guy. G'day, guys. My name's Michael, and I am otherwise known as the Dead Aussie Gamer. I play Jaggerjaw, aka Jagsy, the shipwright for the Second Chance. I don't know. I haven't been on a boat for so long. I'm getting weird, strange feelings. And I'm actually super stoked because last week I rolled something above a 5. Hooray! Yay! No, I'm super keen. I'm very excited, and of course, very interested to see how Jaggerjaw is going to go in today's adventure with a bunch of people who are equally savage, barbaric, and tribal. So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna try and play this by ear, and I do apologize to the fellow players. If stuff goes down, stuff goes down. You know, that's just how Jagsy rolls.
I knew it.
We're going to have another Maureen incident on our hands, aren't we?
Oh dear. All right, let's move away from that one quickly because I'm already starting to get a migraine. Captain Salt, how you doing?
Hi.
Jenny? How's Sweden?
Sweden's fine. It's slightly less terribly warm now, so I'm feeling better. And although Michael's words fill me with existential dread, as always, other than that, I'm fine.
There you go.
Today, I'm psyched. I'm hyped. I'm gonna say absolutely nothing in order to not muck up what's going on. I'm just gonna sit there and be quiet.
Lovely. Everyone wants to know what third level. What was your third level build for Captain Salt?
I went for the Battlemaster. With various maneuvers that you
Lovely.
I can tell you what they are, but you'll
No,
probably
that's
find
perfect.
out.
Battlemaster. It was just in the chat. They were going, what was the build? No, I'm going to come back to you. Janet, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad that I wasn't the you, but I don't know who you're talking to, so apologies, Myri, or
Absolutely anonymous.
Oh, come on, let's not pretend like we don't know who it is. Like,
Janet, talk, Janet. We can move past this.
Say words.
Okay, we're gonna move past this. I'm really excited about what's gonna happen next in the campaign. I'm really excited to level up. Lahuna gets spells. That can't go wrong.
Oh.
So that's gonna be fun. But also, I wanted to do a big shout out to somebody in our community because we got a surprise package in our house yesterday. And it was some little minis. Look, this is a mini Lahuna. See, she has a lute and she has wine because she's got her priorities right. And then on the back, she has a sword. And she even has the Lahuna side buzz cut. So thank you very much to Adamal for that, for creating that for me. That was incredibly kind. And he also sent us Demetrius as a cyber pirate, which was incredible. So thank you so much. Best surprise gift ever from our incredible community over at Well Anvil. Thank you so much.
Lovely. No, still. Okay, Myri.
Hi. I'm I'm Myri. I'm
Germany.
the token German. I'm playing Indigo Diomedea, who's the surgeon of the Second Chance, but it kind of turned into she's trying to mitigate the damage that some other people who are a little bit more chaotic may be causing, and healing everyone left and right because they keep dropping dead. Often the people who cause the chaos are the ones who drop dead first. So let's see how we fare with the Queen of the Lizardfolk. I fear that some unknown members of the crew might also be ready to kind of cause drama and or try to steal the crown jewels.
Okay.
Right now.
And finally, Mark, how are you doing? You're good? That's great. Okay, let's move on. So, Ghost of Saltmarsh. No, I couldn't do that to you, Mark. Flick, how are you doing? How is the UK for you today?
Yeah, doing really good. We've got 10 minutes. I just need to go over my backstory I've got it written down here.
For another character?
Me and Pinky and Flick and, that whole thing. So if you've got 10 minutes, we'll just go through it now.
No, sadly. Unfortunately, no. Just no.
Okay, no, I'm fine. Let's play. Go.
I don't know. I kind of want to call his bluff on that.
No.
I got 10 minutes.
You really want to call a bluff on Flick? Really?
No, that's true.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Anyway, so yes, you've met everybody, and if you didn't know who they were, glad to have you on our show for the first time. Speaking of the people who make the show possible, Dungeon Fog has made all the maps for us that you will see in today's show, hopefully, and have seen in the previous shows. Those maps are super cool. Dungeon Fog actually made a special tile set just for the Ghost of Saltmarsh, which will be coming out at some time. Shipwrecks, coral, underwater stuff, really cool stuff, which you'll be seeing in upcoming episodes. Then we've got World Anvil. World Anvil has done so much for the show. You can find out everything and anything you like about our heroes. Go and have a look at World Anvil Heroes. The links should be shared up by the moderators in the stream at some point, hopefully, if they haven't already done so, so you can go and track their characters. It's a wonderful thing, and of course we are tracking our campaign on the World Anvil Ghost of Saltmarsh webpage. You can find that as well, where there is a map of the Azure Sea and surrounds. Map was created by Kaora and Dungeon Fog for a new project that's coming out. Watch for that. And then Fantasy Grounds, of course, our virtual tabletop of choice. Fantasy Grounds just providing us with everything that we could possibly want. And when you get to ship combat, you'll see some pretty cool stuff from there as well. So let us move forward and onward with that. If you are wondering what is happening down there, where you can see the logos of our wonderful sponsors, there's also a cryptic clue that's going out, and that's because Mama Sadouk has hidden treasure in the Azure Sea. Head on over to www.greatgamemaster.com, where you'll find Treasure Hunt. You can download a free copy of the treasure map and the map itself for the Azure Sea as used in the game. Follow the cryptic clues that feature and have featured in the last 7 episodes of Ghost of Saltmarsh right up until the end, and the 1st of September we will be announcing the winner of that. It's an awesome bunch of prizes. You've got core rule books from Dungeons & Dragons. You've got special edition books from Dungeons & Dragons. We've got gifts from from Dungeon Fog, from World Anvil, from Fantasy Grounds, from Nerdarchy, from Great GM. Just, it's an amazing treasure. You don't want to miss out. Now, if you have missed any of the clues previously, you can head on over to D&D YouTube channel. On the D&D YouTube channel, you can find all of the episodes that have aired before. They are all there for you to watch and get those cryptic clues from. But enough of that for now. I think it is time for us to take a journey into the boat that you were all on. If you can hear the water in the background as it laps against the hull of the Supperware war canoe that the 5 of you are present on, there was that minor puff and pop and vague smell of cooked calamari that briefly washed over the length of the canoe after you had just passed through the Sea of the Dead, where there were hundreds of bodies of various sea creatures that had been slaughtered, as far as the vision was concerned, by humans. In the far distance, you can see The great, great marshes, a distant olive haze on the horizon, and already the air is starting to get thick with the humidity, and flies and gnats are starting to become a thing. Are you doing anything? Jagsy, what are you doing?
Jagsy's not really used to this kind of temperature, preferring, of course, the nice, cold, sea-like embrace of the coastal reefs. He's still sitting next to Captain Salt. While previously he seemed like he was sort of vigil and alert and, you know, kind of sitting next to his captain, now he seems to be very agitated, uncomfortable. It looks as though if someone sort of brushed up against him wrong, he might accidentally snap and take a finger off or something. As he does so, he sort of looks at Captain Salt and says, "We should be getting close, Captain, but I've never really liked the swamplands. Does cause me a fierce rash on me skin."
Never been there myself, but I'm starting to get the idea already. Well, I don't think you're gonna have to worry about the rash. I don't think we're gonna be staying here for very long either way.
I think we just need to, I don't know. I've never really talked to lizard folk too much. You know, every time we bump heads, it usually ends up with a Chacon or a lizard folk dying, so, you know, I'm just gonna try and leave you and Lahuna to it.
Oh, I'm not gonna be doing any talking when I'm here. Look, they've already made it very clear what they think about me and my type. And
Well, it turns out they seem to know Lahuna pretty well, or at least her mum.
yeah, I'm pretty big shot diplomat, from what I understand.
Sort of look over at Lahuna.
Lahuna has been following around the shaman since the morning, asking questions about the Lizard Queen, because it's finally occurred to her after about 5 days that maybe she should find out what the Lizard Queen is like before they arrive. So she's been asking questions about, so what's her favorite food? Like, what does she like to eat? And what does she like to wear? And like what does she think about, you know, capital punishment and spicing of food, and what's her favorite song? So Lahuna's been asking lots of questions about this.
Good questions to ask. I'm going to ask you to please give me an insight check as he gives you very polite answers.
Oh yeah. Well, Lahuna does not have her mother's insight, sadly.
Oh,
17. The tone with which he answers seems to have lost any kind of reverence, any kind of adoration whatsoever, and he's fairly sharp with his answers. In terms of her favorite food, she seems to prefer the foods of other species. She is not of her kind. There is definitely an animosity between this shaman and the queen. He does not like her in the slightest, and after a few questions you realize that whatever information he's giving you is probably propaganda designed to, at the very least, tell you that she is this oddity amongst the lizard folk.
Right, been there. So the final question that that Lahuna would like to ask is, so tell me, I didn't have the immense privilege to come to the home of the queen before. What was it exactly that my mother Rahana was doing there?
His long tongue backs out towards you and then is pulled back in again. The Black has summoned by necessity the racers of the Azure Sea.
But the Black Tide came before.
It has.
When?
Nearly a century ago. But it was not near the Azure Sea before. We have summoned those from the areas of the world who have faced them. But it is without response that we find ourselves.
So basically you're saying that nobody knows what to do.
There are rumors, but at the moment, yes, we are floundering. Hence my excitement when Indigo recovered the artifact.
Of course. Well, I mean, the artifact is just extraordinary in its own right, but you know, it's just. Can you tell me more about these rumors then?
He looks around, and
This is not the place for such discussions. Once our queen has decided your fates, then we shall share our informations.
Of course. I like you, Shaman. You're wonderful. You're awesome. I'm so glad that we're on the same side. Makes me really happy.
his eyes narrow and his tongue seems to hold as it's busy flicking through the air, and then it retracts after a while. He doesn't say anything, he just sort of shuffles off. Indigo, what are you doing?
Indigo is trying to gauge the wind flow, and if there's any kind of the water flow, how the waves behave, just trying to keep track of what wind and sea are behaving like on the stay in, especially in this region. I don't think she's been there before.
Sure. Absolutely. Roll a d8 for me.
Sure. Go. Come on.
The reason why the humidity is starting to become so oppressive is because there are some massively large, very dark storm clouds that have gathered not out over the Azure Sea, but to the north towards the jungles and the Sasahakswe Bay. And this massive cloud is just keeping all of the humidity trapped. It doesn't look unnatural. It does look like a natural phenomenon. But yes, the waters around you are starting to get choppy as that massive cloud starts to build. You can see to the north the great Ikawa swamps, and the thousands of little islands that form and reform on a daily basis as all of the rivers from Haven Hill pour into it, as well as from the further north mountains. And the long warship starts to navigate between these great big mounds of reed and riverbank rotten logs. As you are all as you're all sitting and sort of seeing what's happening, there are large saltwater crocodiles that slither and slide into the water. The canoe is too big for them to even contemplate, but some of them are easily 20 foot in length themselves. These are gigantic beasts. There's one or two which have got very definite signs of battle on them. There's one that you see, he's got about 7 arrows sticking out of his head region, completely unfazed. The lizard folk are all incredibly tense. They hold spears at the ready on the sides of the ship. They have bows drawn, looking, watching. The shaman is deeply focused on what's happening around them as you move in through one of these larger lagoons. And you start to realize the crocodiles are all swimming silently next to the canoe. Sometimes they dip underneath it and just become one. The seawater is now starting to become murky. It goes to a dark turquoise, and then it just silts up and becomes this very, very dark brown. The smell of the sea is very quickly lost behind you as the ship continues deeper and deeper into the swamps itself, and soon it's just hot, rotting detritus and little gnats everywhere. There is this constant little swarm moving around each of you. The lizard folk are completely unfazed by it. You actually watch Flick as this little gnat lands on your scales and its proboscis tries to punch through. It then flies off and lands on another lizard folk. It fails. And then you see it flying off towards Jagsy or to Captain Salt. And it doesn't seem to live for long. As it and its cousin get killed. There is a deep mourning amongst the gnats that evening, but feast they do as you make your way towards Qualtax, the capital of the lizard folk. Whether it's a capital or not, you're not entirely sure, because by the late evening you are seeing campfires everywhere. Campfires and fireflies. The gnats are replaced by fireflies, which at first create this beautiful dance of light, a welcoming celebration of the ship and its crew arriving, until a firefly lands on a patch of exposed skin, and these 8 little mandibles open up and they start trying to bury themselves into your flesh. As you grab their little light bulbs, they burst, leaving this little splodge of luminescent muck on your skin until you wipe them away. They're not nice. They're not nice.
I keep close to Lahuna and hope that her armor eats the nets. And,
Yes.
and
Yes.
the fireflies.
The armor is probably getting to the point now where it's even not coming out because it's eaten so much. This is just a food-rich environment.
Then finally, Indigo does the only thing she can think of to get rid of them, and she disappears. And then there's a lizard, a tiny lizard, hiding under one of the benches.
Nice.
Aw.
You have become a lizard. I like it.
I want to sort of gather the crew before we get there. Sort of get everyone together.
All right.
Has anyone seen Indigo? Where's she at? I haven't
Oh
seen
yeah,
her
she
in a
moved
while.
up the food chain. She's down there.
She's what?
This lizard looks at you.
Is that you?
Yeah, that's Indigo.
Sort of hold out a hand.
She crawls up onto the hand.
All right, hi. This is really weird. So we're
Let
gonna meet.
Indigo, right?
Right, so we're gonna meet the queen, right?
Yeah, Queen of the Lizard Folk.
Yes. And what are we gonna tell the queen exactly?
Well, from what I know of my extensive knowledge of diplomatic situations, she's going to be asking the questions. Because she's the one with the pointy hat and the pointy sticks.
Yes.
Usually how it goes. So she, as far as I can tell, is kind of an oddball. I reckon that can work in our favor. And she knows my mom. And which means she's got a tolerance for, you know, annoyance, which I couldn't possibly imagine. I'm really, you know, I think that's great. So we need to see what she says. We need to protect Victor because we like him in one piece.
I appreciate that.
The lizard nods.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
And, you know, if that fails, we can just blow her up.
No, let's not go to plan 4.
Not blow up the Lizard Queen.
We have all these fire crystals. Look.
Don't have the fire crystals. These gentlemen and women around here have them.
They're very easy to steal.
Oh, right, Flick, don't say that out loud, please. Like, I understand that you have...
Very easy to steal.
All right, better. Thank you. That's it.
Just,
We're gonna
just-
tell them about what we've found, right? About what we know about this magic stuff going on, and about the, what was it, the Saltmarsh? The Saltmarsh family?
Yeah, so I think, in my opinion, the best tack is to tell them the truth as we know it and really hammer home the fact that this is just some of the humans. Because otherwise we will lose all of the humans. They're quite anti-human.
Was the Genkari guy? Which family was it? Was it the Saltmarsh or the Genkari? Because my notes are confusing me.
To whom are you referring?
The statue fellow and the young posh
Fishing.
fellow.
the statue, which is
Yes.
of Commodore Genkari,
Yes.
looked
Commodore
very
Genkari.
similar to Anders Solmor, who was the young fop who tried to have Flick arrested.
Both of them, excellent. But they had like a family name. I mean, there was sort of family resemblance.
I'm not going to confirm or deny that, because that was information given to certain players.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not gonna.
It wasn't given to you, Salt, so I.
No,
that's
I
what
got
I'm
it.
saying.
No, I got you.
If those that got it don't remember it, it's there it goes.
No, that's fine.
In
Jackson?
the small interim as Flick was discussing potentially exploding the Lizard Queen, Jagsy's going to use his carpenter's belt, which is never too far away from him, pull out a couple of extra long nails and go up to the fire crystal barrels and just make sure the lids are kept nice and tight. Just no reason. Jagsy just does not want to be blown into space today.
One of the lizard folk comes up to you, Jagsy, the moment you start hitting one of the barrels. It's one of the big ones, the really large, broad, flat-headed ones. And it looks at you and says, "What doing?"
All right, I'm going to say this so your people can understand. This open me keep us alive.
It
Little
looks at you
dragon.
with these two narrow
Jimmy.
eyes. I understand.
Jaggerjaw nods and sort
And
of
he carries on watching.
yeah, very carefully.
There is a moment where the boat rocks slightly as waves catch it on either side, and your crocodile retinue suddenly seems to all break and pull away. And the fireflies vanish. Literally, they turn their lights off and disappear. And then the stars vanish as well, because the first of the evening stars have started to streak their light down upon the planet. And the waves are being caused by something moving through the water, something very, very big.
Where's
There is
the
an
nearest
order.
barrel?
I beg your pardon?
Where's the nearest barrel full of fire crystals?
Well, they're all there, but you notice that they all have nails sticking out the tops of them now, where you would normally have popped the lid open.
That's okay. Which one's closest to the side?
Well, there are about 40 barrels, so any one of them, really. They're running down the middle of the canoe. There is a call in Draconic. Bitch, says one of the lizard folk. That's what you hear, Flick. No one doesn't speak Draconic hears that.
Jagsy!
Boat's
Jagsy!
rocking
Jagsy!
some more as the waves
What?
now are slapping quite...
What do you want?
You're strong, aren't you?
Get to it.
Yeah. If we're getting chased by something in the water, you could pick up one of the fire crystal barrels and throw it at it.
Suppose I can.
Okay.
Are you, Flick?
Yes?
Are you asking me to throw what is effectively a good 50, 60 fire crystals at whatever it is that just moved under the ship?
Yes.
It's then that things start to drop onto the ship. Bits of mud, seaweed, branch. And looking up, you suddenly see this thing blocking the stars. And then there's a big wave, and there's this titanic foot, 50 foot in diameter, that has claws that are almost as long as the canoe that you're in. Scaled with scales that are 4, 5, 6 foot thick. This
Maybe
leg
2
just
barrels.
lifts out of the water. Sorry, what are you doing, Flick?
I said to Jagsy,
Maybe 2 barrels.
I think we're going to need a bigger barrel.
This leg just moves over. It suddenly pours with water. This swamp water just fills the canoe. Everyone is grumbling. And then the foot slams down into the river on the other side. There's a brief shout of brace, which runs the length of the ship. All of you need to give me dexterity saving throws, please, as this massive wave just rocks the canoe on its side. Bearing in mind that this is a Supperware war canoe, so it's 85 foot in length, so it's a long ship. We have a natural 1.
Oh no!
We have a natural 1.
Okay, right now I'm a lizard, and I have.
What's gonna happen to me?
Oh dear,
Yes,
Lahuna, natural
I'm
1.
holding on to the indigo.
Sorry. Go for it, Flick. You were holding on to the lizard.
Yes, I'm sort of protecting the lizard.
Indigo, you didn't also roll a 1, did you? No, that was
no, I didn't. I didn't roll yet because I've got a question. Because right now
Yes.
I'm a lizard and I have dexterity, different dexterity than.
You don't have the stats? I'll give you.
I have the stats for a lizard.
Okay.
Dexterity would be 11.
Perfect. So +0 to your roll, but you're being held by Salt, so you have advantage.
Okay, I'm just going to roll
A D20,
D20 without anything else.
A 4 and a 3. Okie dokes.
Yeah.
You are being held by Salt. Salt is rocked around. The boat washes from side to side as these massive waves from the displacement of this foot just push this little thing around like a twig in a stream. Indigo, you go flying across the side of the ship. You don't fall out of the ship, but you land quite badly, and you will take that much damage. Lahuna, you were also flicked and dropped off your feet. You rolled around, you landed on the side of a lizard man. They're not as soft and squishy as you had hoped they might be. So you also take 4 points of damage as you smack
Bad
into
news.
the
A
side.
lizard has 2 hit points. Oh no!
So you immediately revert back.
Yeah.
as Indigo. There is a brief moment where everyone is busy picking themselves up off of this rocking ship when a second leg now passes over the first one. And again, there's water and chaos, but by now the helmsman of the ship, hopefully, let's just get a check in here. Crew quality is 5. 8, he hasn't done it yet because whatever reason, he's still trying to bring the canoe round. No one is using their oars at the moment, so the boat gets slammed again and everyone is rolled around and tumbled. This time it's a strength check as the canoe
I was gonna sort of, as soon as Indigo fell out of my grasp, was gonna sort of throw myself after and just try to grab her with one arm and sort of the side of the railing with the other.
All right, give me an acrobatics check if you please, Salt. Otherwise, strength checks for everybody else. You're okay, Flick. You're just holding on desperately.
doing athletics.
Indigo, you're okay. Jaggerjaw, you're fine. Victor, you grab Indigo, except that Indigo's now a full-sized aquatic elf again.
Oh,
She's still a lot smaller than I am.
That's true.
probably yes.
That's true. So everybody kind of, you've braced, you're a bit more experienced in this thing. And as you look back up at this receding behemoth, you realize it seems to be a gigantic sugarloaf mountain. There are trees and things growing off of the top of it with 4 titanic legs and this very pointed tail that is just slowly walking across the Ikawa marshes. Yes, Jackson.
Did you say sugarloaf?
Yes, domed.
Okay, sorry. For me,
The shape,
I mean,
not the confectionery.
Oh, okay, good. I was imagining a 4-legged confectionery. Fantastic. Glad
No,
I'm on
I
a
haven't
different
gone completely off my rocker. No, sugarloaf is what you use to describe a specific shape of mountain. Sorry, apologies.
It's the heat. It's the heat getting to Jagger.
The swamp
It's like-
dust.
Delicious.
A mountain of
Yes.
sugar.
As you are watching this thing disappear deeper into the swamp, it's not moving very quickly, but because it covers 150 foot with each stride, it moves away quite quickly. You also start to see a very large mound, almost reminiscent of this particular sugarloaf shape that's just walked past, in terms of the capital of Quelt Ox. Once the boat has sort of settled and the waters have returned, you find yourselves being guided into a very large pier. Lizard folk are all over the place. They're also smaller little lizard-like creatures. They're not kobolds, definitely not kobolds, but they are the same size as kobolds. They seem to be running around. Those look more like a slave race than an equal race, as they seem to be boffed and clipped and shouted at and carrying all the heavy stuff, while the big lizard folk sort of stride off of the ship and start unloading the cargo. The shaman comes up to you and says, "We go to the Queen now."
Oh, hello. Okay, off we go. Is everybody ready? Lahuna sort of looks around.
Indigo slowly gets up and bows before Victor. Thank you, Eostra Captain.
No, don't worry about it. Are you alright? Took a bit of a fall there.
Yeah, I think I might have purple spots later on.
Oh, well, that's alright then. I mean, you're already blue, so, I mean, it's not gonna make much of a difference.
They still hurt.
Well, obviously, but, I mean, shall we go?
Yes.
We should go.
Captain, you want us to bring one of the barrels?
No, I don't want you to bring one of the barrels, Jackson.
No, not to flick it all up, but to, just show what we brought as a gift, that kind of thing.
Yes, but if she misunderstands what we mean by it, we're going to be flicked either way.
Well, if we've got a contingent of lizard folk, I mean, it's just...
Well, maybe you could ask your shaman friend to bring a few.
What do you say, Shamey? Will you bring one of the barrels so we can show it?
They are our prize. We will display it when the Queen requests it.
Okay. I'm sure she knows what gnomish fire crystals look like. I mean, they're a fairly eponymous item.
This way, he says as he leads you forward. You move through the definite ramshackle structures. There is a decided artistic flair to the way that the lizard folk have constructed these buildings. Most of them are made out of wood with then a hide stretched between it to create privacy or to ward off certain areas. There is lots of clay that's been used to decorate the outsides of the buildings. Pottery with intricate designs upon it abound everywhere. There is no sign of the differentiation between male or female. It's just lizard folk moving around, going about their daily business. It is night, so they're starting to settle down. The streets are not so busy. The streets are not paved by any means, but there are large amounts of bulrushes that have been laid flat to provide better purchase, and so that you're not sort of walking directly in the mud. Little channels of water have been diverted away to create a little bit more of a drier area here, so deep into the marsh itself. The main structure, you realize, is an ancient old mountain which has been slowly worn down over centuries and then covered in vegetation. This was one of the large areas where trees and things could grow, so these bizarre, twisted, swamp-like trees that look like they're permanently in mourning with their leaves hanging down decorate this place. And you can see moving about these very resplendent guards, great big feathers, bright yellow. It dimmed now because of night. Doors are thrown open, very large doors, intricately carved with the effigies of lizard folk being heroic and fighting off large monsters and things. And you enter into this very, very cave-like space. You are definitely aware that this has not been carved specifically. These are caves that have been adapted over time and over centuries, that have been worn smooth by the simple numbers of lizard folk that have inhabited this place. There is a green glow, a quite bright green glow, and that seems to be coming from fungi and mushrooms all over the walls and things. That just gives this space its light. You are effectively, however, in dim light. So it is dim light for all of you. You're taken down quite a lot of passages. Unlike most structures where the audience chamber is this direct route from the front entrance inwards. This is not the case here. You've gone down passages, up passages, around passages. Any of you can give me a survival check if you want to try and keep track of where you are. This cave system is massive, you realize.
Flick will get out his little piece of paper that he has and a little pen.
Sure.
And he'll make a map.
Okay. All right, I like it. You can give me a survival check with advantage. Everybody else so far, Jaggerjaw, you were convinced you had it, as were you, Luna, and then you walked across a bridgeway that walked over a tunnel that you think you came along, but you don't remember going upstairs, so how the hell are you above it? It seems as if the caves were designed by some gnome known as Escher. What was your survival check there? Flick?
I have the Wanderer feature.
Uh-huh.
So it means that I have excellent memory and can always recall the general layout of terrain, settlements, and other features around me.
Well, there you go. Isn't that a nice feature to have? You are keeping track with your map. Your map looks like you took a bowl of spaghetti and just threw it at the page and went, there, that's the map. And that's not what I did for the map, by the way. It wasn't spaghetti, it was linguine. Yes, Jaggerjaw.
Similarly, I have a ability called Natural Explorer, where my group cannot be lost except by magical means.
Okay, perfect. Between the two of you, you're not lost. You know roughly where you are inside this cave system, inside this mountain, and it isn't. Well, it is fairly long. It takes about half an hour until eventually you come to these two massive doors that are coated in, it must be bronze, because they've turned that wonderful green as that patina has grown over them of the oxidization of the bronze. And they are pushed open by these two large lizard folk. What is your walking order? Give me a walking order, if you will, as I share this map. Who's going first?
Probably me.
Probably Lahuna. Okay, let me move this map over a little bit so everyone can see. Lahuna, you step into this fairly small audience chamber. You had expected something bigger, and you are surprised, perhaps, to see that there are colinths, I should say, in one corner in a big huddle. On the other side, there are the Lokatha, which are fish-like creatures. It's just a big old party that seems to be happening. No one is smiling, however. Let me make that very, very clear. No one is smiling. But yes, there are these fish-like creatures just all in attendance, as well as at the very far end of the room, there is the queen of the lizard folk. There is no way that you would possibly not know who she was. She wears this large golden gorget around her throat and upper chest, which is inlaid with these beautiful stone gemstones, all the gemstones, all in yellow and red. She has this huge crown of feathers which stretches out from behind her head, also yellows and reds, and then she wears this long cloak. You want to say that it's made out of metal because it has that metallic sheen to it, but it's also this bright, bright, bright yellow. Flick, are you walking in behind Lahuna? Who's next? All right, Flick is next. After that?
No one else moves? Indigo will.
All right.
I'm gonna bring up the rear, I think.
All right, and then Jagsy will go.
All right, so you've formed your nice, neat little line. The guards form up on either side of you as you enter. The vizier steps forward. I didn't put his token in here, but he steps forward. My queen, more guests for your entertainment. He then bows and steps aside. The queen looks up at you and she fixes you, Lahuna, with a stare.
Hello.
Her lizardfolk features seem to change and soften as she becomes more human in her appearance.
Interesting. thinks Lahuna.
I have not yet mastered the shapes of your people, but you are welcome here in our capital.
We're so happy to be here. Hello, everyone. Lahuna sort of looks around the room, smiling and waving at people. Can I just say how beautiful you look? I mean, the gorget and the feathers and it's magnificent. You look magnificent. Thank you so much for having us here.
You are most welcome because you are part of the Azure Sea peoples, but I am uncertain as to how you got here so quickly.
Oh, we came with Shamey. He never told me his real name, but I've been calling him Shamey. He's really nice. He knows so much.
This is not the Ambassador Rahana, but one of her offspring, Your Grace,
says the Vizier as he realizes what has happened.
Oh,
she looks back at you and she starts laughing. You must forgive me for my assumptions. It is difficult for me to tell the difference between your generations. There is no telltale scale changing color, so it is hard for me to appreciate your differences. You are the daughter of the ambassador. That would explain it. You are not the official delegation that has been sent by the Merfolk Kingdoms. Is this correct?
Oh no, we came here by accident, but we're so happy that we did. We brought you a present as well.
Did we?
Yeah! We brought 400 pounds of gnomish fire crystals.
Didn't
That is a lie, says the shaman standing up next to you.
Well, it's not a lie.
We rescued you from that prison, and we recovered the fire crystals.
I prefer to think of it as more of a joint effort, but if you like your story more, then that is absolutely fine.
He turns and he addresses the rest of the room rather than the queen.
It appears that the merfolk are as duplicitous as their human consorts.
Well, that is just not
He says, looking at Salt, who's probably skulking in the background.
Yeah, Salt's doing the thing where I think he did a lot with when he back in his olden days, where he just sort of he entered a room and he'd stay by the door and just loom there, kind of thing. Just loom quietly, looking menacing, but he's trying to look less menacing now.
So you're anti-looming.
I think Victor has a natural loom, but he's trying not to.
And he's standing next to Jaggerjaw, who unfortunately is just all loom.
Yes.
Right.
He's a big loomy boy. Yes, he is.
The queen slams her fist, and she's holding the scepter in it on the side of her throne, and she says, "Vizier Kepsek, this is still my audience chamber. I will decide who is telling what." She looks at you, Lahuna. You claim to have brought these fire crystals with you as a gift for our grace. And yet my vizier claims he has, in actual fact, been the one who has brought them here and who has restored you to your freedom. Which is the truth?
It's super complicated, but just to be really quick, we were going through this creepy house, right? Which we didn't want to be in, but then we had to be in, and it was awful. And then we came down, and there were the fire crystals there, and I said, let's give them to the queen as a present, because she's amazing. And then they said, we're taking them for the queen. So as far as I'm concerned, I said, let's give them to the queen, and then they took them for the queen. And that is what happened when I was in the room. So if they had previous plans to take them for you that I didn't know about, then I didn't know about them. But I said the thing, and then they did the thing. Cause and effect, right? So if that wasn't his plan, then that's okay. But that's how it was from my point of view.
Everybody else can make deception checks as you all stare at the ceiling, the floor, the sky, anything other than at the back of Lahuna's head. Okay, let me just let's ask this question first. Who believes her?
But that's what happened.
Yeah.
That's It's actually
Okay,
what happened.
one person. The other three of you, deception checks.
Indigo leans over to Jaxie and asks, "Is this diplomacy? What is happening?"
No, I'm just,
I think the diplomacy was on the mother's side.
Then what does her father do? And what does her Yastra do?
Well, hopefully a fight. All right, I'm gonna roll a.
So, deception check, please, Indigo, Flick, and Jagsy.
Come on.
this just seems like something Luna would do as far as Victor's concerned. It's just perfect Luna behavior.
Sure. Okay.
Deception or perception?
Deception. I've been watching your face, and it hasn't been telling me that what she's been saying is the truth. But apparently it has been, because you have scales. It's hard to read scales. You know, scales are difficult. The Queen, however, can see everybody's intention with her natural 20.
Nice. She is the queen. I mean, to be fair.
She knows things. Yeah.
Jagajaw at this point, no, like not with the deception thing, but just to sort of explain what is going through his mind. He says in a very deep voice, "Permission, Your Highness, to step forward."
Let me guess, you are also not the representative of the Chacon peoples that we have summoned.
No, I have not been with the Chacon for quite some time, but regarding this matter with the fire crystals, I have some understanding of protocol and ownership, especially along many of the coastal tribes. The fire crystals that these lizard blokes reckon belong to them and been salvaged were actually given to this human behind us, who, as you can see, is still living, breathing, and quite alive, not shackled or bound in chains or bound by any kind of law or order by you. To this end...
Don't give them ideas!
To this end, I pose that it's actually, and I gesture towards Victor, the captain's property that is being offered, and not something taken by the Vizier, as blood has not been shed over it.
Well,
Highness.
And what was the intent of this fire crystal collection on behalf of the humans?
Says the Vizier as he steps forward.
Jagsy will sort of look back at Victor, and facial expressions with sharks are hard, but you think that maybe he's asking Victor to sort of, "Hey Victor, come over here, step forward."
yeah, right. Should we move our tokens into the room? Because it looks like I'm standing in the corner
You can
outside.
indeed move your tokens into the room. I would imagine, Lahuna, you had to come forward for your tirade.
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of... oh no!
There's shuffling
On my
going on.
shoulder still. Yes. I would sort of step up.
No, you stop.
I sort of step up a little bit and sort of try to look very non-threatening and go, as far as I'm concerned, these fire crystals were to be used against that big Kraken monstrosity. Because it seems like we need big booms to take it out. Big booms, big explosions, fire crystals. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it seems to be probably going to be put to good use in your hands. So, I mean, your people certainly saved my life back in that creepy house that my first mate here mentioned.
There is lots of mumbling when you say that, and the Vizier stands forward.
I saved not your life at all, human.
Intentional or not, I would be dead by the hand of another human.
We've heard enough of the lies of this individual.
Says the shaman as he cuts you off yet again. They have brought
Fire crystals, by their own admission. We stole them from them in their caves. Clearly they were to be used against us, Your Majesty.
She raises her
How
scepter.
does that follow? What
Why
makes
would
you think
give them
that?
to you if they were going to be used, but that doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about, Shamey? That's weird. Why are you being weird?
That's the Vizier.
I do not need to explain myself to this collection of individuals.
Well, I think you do.
Sea
'cause you're not
elves we
very
know
clear.
to be duplicitous. The merfolk are clearly mad. The Chacon are blood-crazed barbarians. And what of the skulking little creature in the back?
That is a
then the
little
human.
dragon.
Your
So you
Majesty,
think-
I move that these be executed as an example to the races that would defy our glorious alliance,
He says as he turns and looks at the fish folk and at the Coleths, who all sort of just stand there. The fish folk are just watching this display going on. The Queen again raises her hand. The whole point of our alliance is that we might all survive. There are two who have not yet spoken, and I would hear from them. Tell me, aquatic elf, you who have one of the darkest histories of the peoples of the Azure Sea, what is your version of events that have brought you here into my court this day?
There was a lot of coincidence involved, or maybe no coincidence at all, if you believe so. We were at a place where other individuals, mostly humans, but not all of them, were stockpiling these fire crystals. And I think they meant them to make war on each other. I think they were meant to blow up a human ship because the humans fight among each other because they are not one tribe and one people, but many, and you know how they are. They branch off in every which way, and there's nothing that keeps them complete and whole.
I agree with the druid for once. They are a plague, a pestilence that infect us.
That is not at all what I said. You can't agree with something that I didn't say.
The Queen raises her hand. Please continue, she says, looking at you.
We were at this place for completely different reasons. But we knew that somewhere in the city there would be these fire crystals. And we had made a very vague plan, if we ever found them, to use them against the Black Hunger from the deeps. What Aostra Captain calls the Kraken. And when we found them, we fought them in the cellar, but it was not enough. We fought them in the attic, but it was not enough. Sorry, I couldn't resist. We fought them, but I admit we might have been too weak. It came to a kind of standstill between those humans and us when your warriors arrived. And at this point, I think everyone decided that it would be best if both we and the fire crystals left the city with them to come to you. Because we also have news and we might have information and plans how to deal with the black tide.
There are many wise things in what you say. So far, I am undecided on who to believe just yet. So I turn our attention to our friend. The Seaballs have never been involved in the politics of the Azure Sea, and yet here we find one in our midst. What is the wisdom of our little blue friends?
Oh, me. Oh, well, this is lovely. Why did you bring everybody here?
The black tide threatens all who inhabit the Azure Sea. We are aware of who has caused this black tide, and so we are uniting against those that have caused it, in a hope of restoring balance to this region.
Well, you see, I don't quite understand that bit.
Who owns the fire crystals? Let's start there.
No, well, what I don't understand
No.
is...
Do you not know who I am?
No.
She can't help but smile. There are many things that have been said this evening, I should say. The Chacon speaks the truth. If the crystals were given to the captain, they belong to the captain. The Lizardfolk are no thieves. We will not steal that which is not ours.
Yes,
At the same time, if the captain was to use them against us, that would be absolutely destructive to this alliance.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
Look, your emperorness, your holiness. Look, listen. We want to blow up the Kraken.
That is what you say.
Yes. Well, you can believe that or not, but that's what we want to do. So we have the same goals, really. If you execute us, you lose everything. Or, well, you don't lose everything. You lose 5 people that are vaguely interested in the same thing. But, you know, if you don't execute us, then we could be useful and we could help you achieve the same goal. It's quite
The
simple.
vizier immediately launches forward and he says, I call the Kala Madarakash.
What?
Everybody goes silent and the queen looks forward. That is a very grave declaration, vizier. You are aware of the implications. I do not care. I will not see the lizard folk or our alliance sullied by the inclusion of these imposters. I saw them in battle. They have nothing. They bring only deception and vagaries. They will not strengthen us. They will weaken us, and I will not let you, my queen, lead us down the same path. At least if I can prove to you they are inept in every way possible, then you will believe me, and we will save the Azure Sea. But I can no longer stand by whilst you indulge these lesser beings.
Sort of moving in front of Flick protectively at this point, because I've no idea what's going on, but it's definitely not good, and it's definitely very aggressive. So I'm just going to sort of shift in front of Flick.
The queen looks at all of you. Yes, Jagsy?
Oh, I was going to say, I'm going to step in line with Victor as well, trying to be as big, as imposing as possible as well. I'm going to look square at the vizier's eyes, and I'll say, "That's not what the leader of your lizard folk said to me when he took Chacon blood. He met the end of my anchor. And if you want to go down this road, mate, please say it again, louder this time, into my good ear."
Lahuna? You're muted? You're still muted?
I boss up, buddy. Sorry. I think what my friend means, Luna finally gets out of her mouth, is that we have proven ourselves in battle and that we are by no means useless. But this man, this one here, who seems to think that all species members are the same, is telling the queen what to do. That doesn't seem like something he should be doing. Lahuna turns and looks at the queen and blinks.
Indigo?
Indigo looks back and forth and then goes, why are we about to fight? What sense does this make?
Flick?
Flick isn't doing anything.
Just
For
standing.
once.
peeking out from behind Victor's legs, kind of.
No, well, just sort of.
Wheels spinning.
Yeah.
The queen looks to you, Lahuna, and there is a momentary flash of... Perhaps she acknowledges what you're saying, or she agrees with what you're saying. It is a good question that you ask, Aquatic Elf. Why is it that we fight? There has been a question of honor that has been brought forward now, and it is clear that there is a grave tension between the 5 of you and my vizier. The shamans of the Lizardfolk are here to protect the interests of our people, and for me to ignore that as their queen would be to discourage and to ignore a tradition that is as old as our people. I cannot do this.
No.
Because you have accepted the challenge, Chacon, you and your companions here will be given the opportunity to participate in the Kala Madrakash. This will allow us to determine whether or not there is the god's fate upon you, or whether perhaps this all was just a waste of time.
Excuse me, what is that? The color... What exactly is that?
The Kala Makatash? What?
She seems very disheartened by the whole thing. And she slumps back into her chair and her visage changes back into the lizardfolk face that she has. If the outcome is as the vizier predicts it, I will inform your families of your honorable deaths. But if the outcome is that the vizier is proven wrong, then you will have our alliance in hand, for we will cherish you as welcome companions on this road that we seek to destroy the Kraken on. I can only hope that you respect our traditions and understand that this is not a situation which we would normally have sought out. And then
We
she
don't understand what
nods.
this
The guards then
situation
start
is
to
for.
move around all of you. They seem not overly aggressive, but they seem to want to be leading you somewhere. The vizier turns and says, I hope you savor your death. And he turns back
I
to the
hope
queen.
you taste like fish. Because I intend to eat you if you actually want to fight us.
Okay, Indigo, maybe we should just go with them quietly.
Also, I am trying to remember what a brown bear looks like.
Yes, Flick.
Is anyone really paying attention to Flick as we're getting ushered out of the room?
Yes, unfortunately, everybody is watching. Well, not Flick particularly, but everyone is watching the group busy being herded out of the room.
Okay.
All right. Jaggerjaw, you wanted to say something quickly?
Oh, no,
Chaos.
Jaggerjaw's heart just skips a beat when Indigo threatens to eat someone.
How romantic! Oh.
Little spark.
I say she's a woman of taste.
So they lead you out of this chamber, and the walk takes quite some time as you are
Oh, Luna
taken
waves
away.
goodbye to the Queen.
I beg your pardon? Oh, you wave at the queen.
I wave goodbye to the Queen. I hope I see you again soon.
She
You're magnificent, if a bit mean.
doesn't seem to react too much to your departure. Are you saying anything to each other as you're going down this corridor?
I do not like that vizier.
Does anyone know what we just got signed up for?
I'm thinking ritual mashing.
Yep.
Some kind of thing.
It's often ritual mashing.
Mashing? Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Fighting.
Lizardfolk
We're
culture
in the middle
ain't
of that, and then there's mashing.
Yeah, Lizardfolk culture ain't too different to the Chacons. Basically, quickest way to get through is through tradition.
Any
we've been
one of you
challenged.
can give me a history check.
Oh, yes, I have
Nope.
history. I am R-smart. I am roll like garbage, though.
Oh no!
Natural one.
You're pretty sure it's some kind of potato-based dish?
It is clearly, it is
cooking
clearly,
competition.
it is clearly an aquatic dance-off. That is what we are about to engage in.
There's your
Oh,
natural
no.
Thank
one.
you. Thank you.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. All right, so you don't know anything, Lahuna. Your history check is nothing either, I'm afraid.
I don't know. These people don't do much writing.
No, no, they don't.
But the
corridor
shop can't
could-
have like trial by combat type thing, like you're right if you live kind of scenario. So that's what I'm going to assume this is akin to. Like
Yeah.
the specifics, no, but you know, we fight, and if we win, the queen believes us. That's about as far as it goes.
So threatening to eat one of them was actually it was the right place to do this. I did
absolutely,
not make a fool of
absolutely.
myself.
Well, I mean,
Because it was the vizier.
yeah, I mean, Big Nose Vizier turns around and says that we're not tough. I mean, just telling him that you're going to eat them, that's pretty tough.
It was, yeah, yeah.
You did good. You did great.
All right.
Did good.
You are taken
Very good.
out of the caves into this very large chamber. And it's filled with mist, and there's a soft light coming in from above it. Not entirely sure what's causing that soft light, but definitely brought in from somewhere. And the ground is slightly boggy. As far as you can see, there's a large liquid lake in the middle of this fog bank. There's a stump, there's some ancient ruins to the north, I should say, and to the south. And that's pretty much it, really. So that's what you're seeing there. Let me just reframe that. Oops, that looks better. Yeah, this is where you find yourselves. What are you doing? There's no sign of anyone else, and once the Lizardfolk guards leave you, there is this dull thud as doors are closed.
I knew we should have bought those fire crystals.
Jaggerjaw's going to take a look at the soft mud and see if you can see any footprints of like people, creatures, anything.
All right. Yep, give me a survival check, if you please.
Right, everyone just stay close to each other.
Woo!
There
Little
are, unfortunately, some tracks. Some very large tracks. Reminiscent of those crocodiles that you saw on the banks as the boat was making its way into the swamp itself. And there looks like something has S-shaped its way across the floor. These large S trenches have been described, probably about 4 or 5 inches deep, just all over the place, backwards and forwards. You then hear another boom, and it sounds like the similar doors, but just from the other side of this space.
I'm gonna draw my weapons at this point.
Yeah, me too.
What do I know about crocodiles? And I will draw my anchor.
You draw your anchor. Crocodiles, big, savage, nasty beasts. Not very bright.
Reasonably slow.
As long as you're not close to them.
Yep.
You can probably outrun one if you were lucky to. But they're also incredibly good ambush predators.
Yeah. All right. I'll tell the others. All right, listen. I'm fairly sure there's a large croc coming our way. Couple things. First, they're ambush predators and they'll jump out of nowhere. Worse still is we can't be caught together like this. Spread out.
One thing before that, I touch Flick. Flick, are you willing to be spelled upon?
Yeah.
Are you a willing target? Then you get bark skin. So
Oh,
your AC cannot drop below 16.
Nice.
How long does that last for?
1 hour.
ooh.
Which direction did this noise come from? The second booming noise.
Opposite you.
But on the map.
So towards the bottom left-hand corner, towards the swamp, the pond swamp thing.
All right, I'm just gonna sort of place myself between the group and this sound, sort of scanning the area.
All right.
How dense is this bush in front of this tree? The one that I've just put my thing in?
It's scraggly. It hasn't seen real light for quite some time, but yes, it's pretty dense.
Not great cover then.
Well, you could hide in it. It does provide enough of that with the mist that you'd be unseen.
All right, I'm gonna go lurk for a bit.
All right. That's where
I'm
everyone
very
is sort of
distressed that everyone's spreading out.
bracing out to.
All right. So she's going to come for one of us, right? Whoever's going to take it, you need to lean into that, and the rest of us need to jump on it as quick as we can. Once it snags something, it'll be up to the rest of us to either take this thing out or pin it down.
Really? Okay.
Ow.
Well, in that case, says Lahuna, she bounds out from behind the bush and jumps onto the ground and says, "I'm here! Come and get me!"
Luna, could we just not with the yelling right now?
All right, that's what you shout.
I'm gonna stick close to Indigo.
Yes. Indigo is going to stick close to Victor. So we just
There's lots of
huddling.
sticking going on. I like it. All right, you are gathering together. You're shouting that out to the general world, I suppose, Lahuna. As you do that, there is a rather curious sound from the water directly in front of you. And this very large crocodile suddenly emerges out onto the beachhead and just looks at you.
Oh, that's big.
All right.
Going into initiative, I will get Fantasy Grounds to roll initiative for us.
All right.
Here it goes, and there we go. All right, first up, there is some cackling from the other side of the lake, and you can see that lizard shaman who originally brought you here, he is standing on the edge of the pond, and you can barely see him. He seems to be muttering something, but you can't make out exactly what it is that he is saying. So that's what he's busy doing. Lahuna, you're up next. What are you doing?
First of all, I call out, "Oh, hi, Shamey. How are you doing?" I don't wave, obviously. I've got a sword in my hand, but I sort of wave at him and say hello. Does he say anything back?
He's
I
busy
don't know.
muttering something. Hush, Godard, Vorgeist, bizarre.
You know, I don't think he's our friend. That just makes me sad. Okay. The crocodile's just sitting there. I'm
Yep.
gonna take a 5-foot step towards Jaggerjaw, just in case he gets attacked first, because I got a brand spanking new power. And
Nice.
I can protect people now. And I'm gonna brace for attack. So I'm preparing to attack. When
If
it comes.
it attacks, you attack.
Exactly.
Right,
I'm-
you are.
Poised like a rusty spring.
Indigo?
Indigo nods so Victor can see towards the shaman and says, "I'm going to eat him." And then she moves.
What?
5, 10, 15, 20, 24,
Right.
30. But she uses Moonbeam on the crocodile, which is
Moonbeam on the crocodile.
my spanking new damage spell.
Right, so it has to make a save, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, and it has to make. Wait a second.
It's a
Constitution saving throw.
Constitution saving throw. Whoops, first one is it. It gets a 25 on its roll. Unnatural 25, obviously. It rolled a
Okay.
19. Sorry, 19 plus its save.
Then
is-
it only takes half damage.
How much damage does it take?
So 9 would be normal damage. Okay.
Nice.
Takes 4
Suddenly-
damage as this brilliant
there's
beam
a
of
beam
light
of light.
slams into it. Jagsy?
All right, so Jagsy has picked up some new tricks as well. So as a bonus action, I'm going to look this beastie up and down and mark it with Slayer's Prey, which is an ability that allows me to select a target within 60 foot.
Right.
And until either the target dies or I reallocate target, my first attack will deal 1d6 points of extra damage. I'm then going to move up to it, and I am going to belt him with my big hammer.
You hit him with your large anchor, without doubt.
Okay, and there's that damage plus my extra d6. Oh, do I need to roll that? Okay, I'll just roll that separately.
Yeah. Another 6 on
points.
top of that. Lovely. You slam into its skull. As your anchor hits it, though, you have this distinct feeling that you didn't puncture its massively thick, leathery hide, but you certainly bludgeoned it one clocker on the noggin. It definitely felt that.
Yeah, and Jagsy would just roar at it as well, like kind of like an I'm gonna eat you, not you're gonna eat me.
Gotcha. Flick.
Got this wrong.
Is this a tree that I'm sitting on?
Yes. Well, it's not a very big tree. I mean, it's tree-like, possibly a shrub with ambition.
So I use my movement to sort of I very carefully climb up. I moved here at the beginning before combat, so I'm just very carefully just making my way up, just so I can get a bit of vantage point. Can I see the shaman?
Very vaguely through the fog, yes.
Sure.
He's all the way
Flick
across
is gonna sort of wiggle his hands a little bit. Go. Okay. And I'm gonna cast Scorching Ray 3 times at the shaman.
What is the range of Scorching Ray?
120 feet.
You got it.
Speak.
All right. Does he have to make saving throws? Does he? What does he do?
It's a attack for me, so
Right.
I have to roll 3 times.
All right. Make your attack.
Three little balls of fire appear, and then they just go.
You guys don't like the shaman.
No.
We tried to be friends.
The first blast slams into the water, hissing and sizzling with venom and spittle. The second one definitely hits. The third one goes wide, slamming into a bush on the other side, giving it a slight burning effect.
So 1 hit.
Yes.
Ooh.
11 points of fire damage to this shaman. He needs to do something here very quickly. Where is he?
Yeah, you maintain that spell, you.
Retire.
Yeah.
Needs to
I'll
retire.
just retire. Let's see. No, he's alright. Barely. The crocodile. It lunges for you.
1,000 teeth. There's a
So
brain
it's
neck.
about to attack. Lahuna, you said you were going to do something.
Yes, I would like to attack it if it comes close to me.
Strike at it with all of your anger and hatred.
I whack at it with my sword, my mastodon blade sword.
Right.
What about your anger and hatred, though?
I don't have anger and hatred. It's just a It's not an
Yeah,
evil
fine,
crocodile.
fine.
It's not an evil crocodile, is it? Is it an evil crocodile?
Not that you're aware of yet.
Just hanging out being a crocodile.
Let me just
The
double check this
crocodile's
on
not the
evil
problem
crocodile.
here.
When you say it's not evil, you have to actively try and detect for that, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, it's not evil.
Just a croc.
Okay.
Just a big, angry, aggressive crocodile.
It's just a bit hungry.
It's like Jagsy in the morning before breakfast, you know?
I thwack at it with a longsword and I say, "Bad crocodile!
That's a hit.
Go back to your lake!"
You smash into it. Remember to roll your dice onto the token. That will deal damage directly to it.
But sorry,
That's right.
have I done? Did I get it?
You did. You hit
that's
it.
good.
You hit it. It's not difficult to hit. 9 points of damage. You slam into this poor creature. Your blade also fails to puncture its leathery hide, however. Doesn't seem to do much. It now attacks Jagsy. It's going to make a gigantic mauling attack. It opens
I would like to impose disadvantage. Protect.
You what?
I have protection as a fighting style. So when anybody within 5 feet of me is attacked, I can impose disadvantage on that attack by waving my shield in front of its face.
You can impose protect.
I impose protect.
And your shield is just enough to knock aside this massive head, which tried to consume Jagsy. It doesn't like that. There is a sort of it seems to hunker down. It seems to scrunch up a little bit, which for something that's 30 foot long is quite difficult, and seems to be getting ready for another attack.
No snack.
But it doesn't take it this round. It can't. Next up, Victor Salt.
Yes, a sort of look between just sort of Indigo rushing off on her own, going, and then I've run over towards the crocodile.
Right, you are? You can move yourself?
I guess I can make it there this time.
Oh, yeah. Not a problem.
Yeah. And I'm going to just start smacking it with my big sword. It's not in a really weird way, I apologise.
And then I'm gonna smack it.
Oh, yeah.
With my big sword.
Well, it's difficult to smack a crocodile. You can't work out which part to smack.
I'm going to smack it with my axe then.
Sure thing. That hits.
Ooh! And then I'm going to use my maneuver, because I'm a tank commander now. I'm going to use...
Wrong time period, I think, but close enough.
Yes, close enough. I'm going to use menacing attack, and I'm good, which
So you
roll
attack
my
like
damage.
tiger, grr.
Yes, grr. I'm gonna hand axe, drop the damage on the thing, and then I'm gonna use a D8 to roll, and I'm gonna add this damage to the other damage. Yay, 2. And then he has to do a wisdom save or be frightened of me until the end of my next turn.
He's not particularly wise.
I figured.
He does roll a 19, however, so he passes.
He passes.
You might be menacing, but currently you are also just perhaps like the French fries on the side of a hamburger in the shape of Jaggerjaw.
Yeah.
So he's not going anywhere. The lizard shaman has finally finished his spell, and so you're not entirely sure what he has done there. He is going to throw out. I must just double check this quickly. Just give me a second here. Yep, and he has the range, and he's doing that. Great. He throws out his hands, and this large area, 20 foot, so 5, 10, 15, 20. This entire area is now covered in vines which reach up and wrap around all of you, trying to entangle you and keep you in place. Sickly little weeds which before you would have just stepped on with impunity now seem to provide a rather unfortunate amount of entanglement. So for the duration of the spell, which could be for quite some time if he maintains concentration on it, you will find it difficult to move in there. You are restrained, and it requires a strength action to be able to get free of that. On a success, that happens. So there you are. Right, you are restrained by that one action only. During your turn, Lahuna, what are you doing? Plants are all wrapped around your feet. There's a giant crocodile trying to eat Jagsy.
Yeah, the crocodile is more of a problem than the not moving, because
Right.
where would I go? So, Lohuna is going to use her action to Sacred Weapon. So she grasps her sword and says, oh God, please help me, oh God, oh God. And green light imbues her sword with positive energy. So for 1 minute, I add my charisma modifier to attack rolls with the weapon. The weapon also emits a bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light 20 feet beyond that, so everybody can see, if that was a problem before. If the
Everybody
weapon
can
is
see.
not already magical, it becomes magical for the duration. So this for 1
Fantastic.
minute. Stabbing
Lovely.
for 1 minute. Glow
That is
stabbing.
brilliant. That is brilliant. That allows you, Indigo, to give me a perception check, if you please, as you are making your way towards the shaman.
Sure.
It's glowing.
Perception.
Why is it glowing?
Paladin!
I've got no idea why this is happening.
Indigo, as you are rushing towards the shaman, you spy, coiled around those ruins just to the south of you, a gigantic snake. It must be 2.5 to 3 foot in width. It is just coiled around these ruins. It doesn't seem to be imposing or getting ready to attack, just there. You suspect that if you were to move close to that space, however, it would nom you.
How close?
That is a best guess scenario. You're not entirely sure. Maybe
Let's
5
see.
feet, maybe 10 feet.
Okay.
It's your turn. What are you doing?
Indigo points and calls out snake, and then she uses a free action to shapeshift because she's Circle of the Moon. She can shapeshift as a bonus action,
Yes.
and also she can shapeshift in something much bigger than other druids can at her level.
Nice.
And so now is the moment where I barter with you. What kind of animal might she already know? Does she know what a brown bear is?
Give me a
Thing
nature
is-
check. Give me a nature check, because so far she's been
Nature check.
pretty clueless as to what's been, what is and isn't around on this land. Yes, as a matter of fact, you do know what a brown bear is, because somebody, and we're not mentioning names, had a teddy bear on board the Second Chance, and the teddy bear got you to ask a question. So your brown bear may have buttons for nose and eyes, but it's still a brown bear.
Cutest damn death machine in town.
Okay. So
You turn into a brown bear.
Indigo mid-leap turns into a big, furry, shaggy creature that gives a very deep and growly huff. And then her speed actually moves up from 30 feet to 40 feet. So she exactly, I counted this out in my head.
There we go. I'll give you your brown
Trumpet.
bear token if you like.
I'm a brown bear. Plop. And so she rushes over to the shaman, and then she goes on to maul him.
Yes.
Wow.
If we use the rules for brown bear, I have multi-attack, I bite, and I try to hit him with my claws.
Lovely.
Both are +5 to hit.
Make your attack. I have shared the brown bear with you.
Oh, yeah, right.
So you've got all
can I
these
use
bits
that
and
just
bobs?
to drop things?
You
on
can, in
him?
terms of making your attacks and things. You have now got
Oh,
all of his skills and
nice.
powers.
I'm going to bite him.
Well, she doesn't need any
You
help.
do indeed hit him. He screams out in pain.
In mid-sized pain.
Nice.
It's pain. You bite in. You taste lizardfolk blood upon your hands.
She
You
did
have a
promise.
claw attack.
Then I'm going to claw him.
Taste of shaman.
Looks
That's
like a
it.
hit.
Jamie.
That's it. That's it.
And
Do your damage.
go.
He goes limp in your onslaught, in your attack. He just drops to the ground.
Then, if
Unmoving.
I'm allowed as a free action, I'm going a bit like
Oh,
in my
absolutely.
jaws.
Shake, shake, shake.
You shake him as much as you like. Jaw, the battle with the crocodile continues.
Jaggerjaw gets like the smell of blood and death in his nose. As he does so, you can see like almost like this this steam, like this heat coming from his jaws as he begins to breathe heavily. I'm gonna cast Hunter's Mark on the crocodile as a bonus action, which allows me an extra d6 on top of my damage, which now brings me to 4d6 damage if I manage to hit the damn thing. And let's see if I hit it.
Let us hope.
Ah!
That's a hit.
All right, so that is 6 plus. I have to roll that here. 4 and. Oop! I threw my dice away. Come back here, you and a 1. So that is,
An additional 5 damage.
yep, an additional 5 damage. So 14 damage in total.
This is the first time that your anchor has punctured through its flesh. And there is this large gout of blood as you pull back from that. There are nothing from the snakes. Flick, you hear the doors behind you opening.
Opening.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I turn around and peer through the
Sure.
mist?
You peer through the mist and you can see some very... You're not sure, but they look worried. Lizard folk rushing in. Heavily armed.
Heavily armed.
Yes, their obsidian blades drawn, their shields at the ready.
Okay. Hmm. I'm going to take Pinky. Just say to Pinky,
You're gonna be a little dragon now, okay?
then I put him under my arm. I'm going to run down the tree, and I'm going to run towards them.
With Pinky in tow.
Yes.
Or underarm, I should say, which
Yes.
is not a very favourable place to be if you are Pinky. I actually have a little Pinky token for you now, which I will add to the mix.
I'm so excited.
So, little Pinky is now with you.
Massive.
This is
The legs that they fall.
Little Pinky is with you.
I love it so much.
Yep, so little Pinky's with you, holding on, desperately holding on to your underarm. It's not sure. So you scamper down the tree, not a problem. That's your movement. You're doing something else?
I'm running towards them.
You're running towards them. They don't seem to even see you. They seem to be focused on what's happening in the middle of the chamber.
They don't see me.
They don't seem to care.
Where are the tokens? I can't. Are they? Can I not?
They're in
see
the
them?
mist. All right, I will add them for you very briefly. But yes, they're basically just running straight past you.
Oh, okay then.
Mhm.
I'll just stand there and go.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah, they're literally just running straight past you.
Okay, that's fine.
There you go. The crocodile. Yes, Indigo.
So, Moonbeam is still active, and since the thing is so humongous, it still occupies the space where I put the Moonbeam.
Yes.
As it starts its turn, it's going to get damaged again.
Make your
I think it's going to get another saving
save.
throw.
All right. Constitution saving throw or dexterity? I forget.
Constitution?
Constitution
saving throw. Against 13.
Constitution saving throw. It makes an 18.
So only half damage. Where's my spell? I know I'm a brown bear right now, but I still need my spell. Okay. Because that one's going automatically. Damage would be
6.
Yeah.
6 points of damage. This beast is looking wrecked. Bits of skin are starting to burn off in the moonbeam. It rears up in front of you, Jagsy, and transforms back into the Lizard Queen, looking very beaten up. And she says, "I yield."
Whoa.
oops.
Holy crap!
I yield. You have proven yourselves.
I cancel Moonbeam immediately.
Get rid of Moonbeam! Get rid of Moonbeam!
What was the point of this? Victor on his turn just start hacking at these things.
The vines have
The
started to
vines.
retract immediately already anyway.
Yes, just sort of hacking them away. Was that the point of this? You turning into a crocodile and almost killing us?
Why is my sword glowing?
Ah.
Says Lahuna.
You really should have just explained what this was about.
Also, I hit you on the nose and called you a bad crocodile. I'm so sorry, you're not a bad crocodile. You're a good crocodile.
Is this
You're a
over now at
crocodile.
least? Are we done?
Whilst all this screaming is being poured onto the queen, Jaggerjaw, you are busy doing what exactly? I see some rolls happening. I like it.
Just calming down. Just. I'm actually gonna walk away a little bit.
All right.
Still smell blood.
Indigo, you've dismissed your moonbeam. Flick, what are you doing?
I'm going to throw Pinky onto the back of the head of the lizard man in front of me.
Of course. Of course. All right, make your ranged attack.
Smack.
Yeah. I guess I'll just use my crossbow. Yeah, why not? But it's not my crossbow.
It's a direct hit. Pinky sails through the air. As he's going, he has his tendrils behind him, head forward, eyes squinting, and as he's about to arrive, those tendrils snap forward to reach around the back of this lizard folk head. It snaps onto place. The lizard folk, for a moment, let's see what he's doing here. Very quickly, this wet thing slaps across the back of his head. He doesn't realize what it is until he turns around to look at you, Flick, and then notices a tendril sort of inching across his snout.
I'm going to telepathically command Pinky to Dragon's Breath.
How much damage is that?
What is happening?
3d6.
I say this every time. What is happening? 3d6, roll it, Mark. Roll it as Pinky just opens up. This flame washes over the lizard man's head. He shrieks out. He takes 11 points of damage.
You monster.
As this flame wraps around him. Pinky has turned this brilliant red color. The chromoblast is in his skin, just busy changing to suit what's just happened. Luna?
Yeah, I assuming I'm not hearing the screaming yet because
It's coming across, but Salt's shouting, you were shouting, why is it green? That there was, and now there's screaming in the background with the lizard folk on fire.
So I say, Your Majesty, if I may, and I put my hand towards her. Is she flinching away
No,
from me?
not at all. She's just breathing heavily.
Then I lay on hands for probably 10 points and see how she's looking.
10 points.
Yeah.
It heals her up slightly. She's still not looking great, but she
All
looks
right.
better.
I'll give her the rest of the juice. She gets 5 more points. That's all I've got.
All right, that definitely brings her to a point where it's now nicks, bruises, scratches, cuts, that sort of thing. But she definitely seems a lot better. Jagsy, you were seeing a lizard man next to you suddenly flame as Pinky on his back is pulsating brilliant red.
Does that lizard folk still have a head?
He does. He does.
I'm gonna turn away and walk towards the brown bear.
You just turn away and walk.
Pretend I didn't see anything. And I'm not going to have noticed the great big snake.
That's okay. That's okay. You're just gonna walk towards those ruins, towards the brown bear. Not a problem.
Dum.
Salt, the queen looks at you. This was a necessary process, not for you, but for the vizier.
Right, fine. But
They
it's
have
over
been
now.
after my throne since I have taken power. My policies have not been what they have approved of, This was his play to get me destroyed at the hands of a human, to play into their agenda. I had no
Right.
choice but to play out this, as otherwise I would be seen to have been betraying the shaman's authority as advisors
I
to
put
the
my
throne.
weapons away at this point. Just we're not here to
lizard folk on fire, she looks up at him and she looks at you. If you would ask, please, there is no more need for violence.
Flick! What the blast are you doing? Stop it!
People, die! Die!
Flick! Flick! No! Flick! Flick! No! Stop it! Am I gonna have to come over there? 'Cause I will!
Okay.
Thank you!
Jagged Jaw, as you're walking past the ruins, this massive snake rears up. And as it's about to strike, the queen lifts her hand up and it just freezes in place. There has been enough bloodshed for today. I now take your word for it. You are honorable combatants. You did not strike first, you waited for the enemy to attack. That for me is enough. Her guard, with smoke on his scales. What is Pinky doing?
Pinky's gonna come off, I guess. So start crawling back to Flick.
Who's a good boy?
Yeah, it opens its little mouth and you can see flames starting to try and build up again.
Oh. Oh.
That's what Flick's doing. Whilst the rest of you are talking to the queen. It's not long before she ushers you all out and she says, we must adjourn. If you are injured, we will have people who will help you. It is time we must discuss plans.
Right, thank you.
She leads you into a side chamber and the shamans come along and they will quite happily restore you to full, basically giving you the equivalent of a long rest.
Just before we leave, Jaggerjaw is going to go over to the body of the vizier, and seeing Indigo's amazing work, Jaggerjaw is going to use the business end of his anchor, crack the sternum, pry open the chest of the vizier, and rip out his heart.
You know he was just unconscious.
Was he?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Unless you're going to stop him, Indigo.
Yeah, this is what he's going to do. Just
You're going to lift the anchor, and then suddenly there's a very big, shaggy, smelly thing in front of you looking at you.
Vaguely looks like a demented bear.
I don't know which eye to look at. This is
One's coming off.
what's that going?
Hanging.
It was a fight to the death. He would have seen us killed. You'd let him live?
I look at the queen.
She doesn't seem to be paying him any attention at all. But that's not surprising considering what's happening on the other side of the lake.
Look, we let this guy live. He's gonna pull this again. We take care of him now. It's an honorable death, which is more than he deserves.
Indigo leans down and licks the lizard man where she bit, because she promised to eat off him and to find out what he tastes like. So she wants to fulfill her promise. And then she turns back into her aquatic elf self.
Blood
Shakes up.
smeared.
Her limbs, wipes off the blood from her mouth. Well, I think he's learned his lesson. I can still eat him next time if he comes back. But since the queen just said that we were honorable because we did not strike first, although better not mention to her that we did indeed maybe strike first, at least against her, maybe stay in her good graces and not eat her vizier? Or do you think we would be in her good graces if we ate him? I'm not sure.
He's your kill. You make the call. If you don't want to be that person to finish him off, I'll finish him off. Ain't nothing but a thing, just.
I would rather just leave him. And they, I point at the other lizardfolk, can decide what to do with him. Right now, there's still a little bit of life left in him.
All right. We should head back.
Good.
As we head back, Jagajaw is very sneakily going to swing his anchor behind him, like he's kind of putting it away. But he's going to kind of tap the base of the lizardfolk's foot and try to get it so that his head just dips into the water. Oh no!
Oh no, I'm drowning! Oh no!
Whatever shall we do?
Give me a sleight of hand check, if you please.
All right.
Only to find out that they're aquatic.
That's obvious, right?
Yeah, it's not my worst thing. 7.
Yeah, you can nudge him in, but it's going to be fairly obvious.
I'll look at Indigo and I'll shrug. What? And then I'll
You then rejoin.
Yes, they can drag him out again if they want to. I point at the vizier, and then I point at the lizardfolk and make obvious gestures like, if you want him not to drown, do something. This is not my place to. Go ahead. I'm true neutral.
I'm not going to kill him, but I'm not going to save him.
What's your problem?
Perfectly balanced.
I'm chaotic evil. So
I'm very much
happy.
Nolan Batmaning this. I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you.
There you go. You are now in this chamber with the Queen, and she looks at you very earnestly. The black tide must be stopped. The alliance will take time to form properly. We are awaiting the arrival of your mother, Lahuna. She will be
God, really?
representing the merfolk in this alliance. There are also members coming from the aquatic elves, as well as our dear Chacon are sending representatives too. We have not heard anything from the seabold colonies that we have reached out to, I am afraid, my little friend. They
No,
seem
you
to
wouldn't.
have encountered a problem with a very large hurricane currently, which is in the area that they control. There was something mentioned by the vizier of a device or a discovery that you have. Is that true?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Lahuna. You're better at talking.
Oh, aren't you sweet? We found this incredibly holy artifact, and Indigo's been keeping it safe, and we can. Well, maybe you should see it yourself. Maybe you know more about it than we do, but you can see things, and the things are not good things. I motion for Indigo to sort of hand it over. Hopefully the Queen will make sense of Lahuna's garbling.
Do I even have that?
You did.
did-
He
I
left
do.
it with you.
Then I'm going to get out the two scapulas. They're kind of melded together to form the vizier. The vizier.
You have
from
the
vizier.
Kanta Aha.
Visor.
Counter aha. Oh, because when you see through it, you go, aha!
I look at Lahuna like,
The name is lost to us as to who was the originator of this device, but it is not yet complete. There is a final piece which you will need to add into that. It will allow us to see what has been and what shall be with regards to the dead. I
You saw
suspect in its current state you would see the past. What caused the death of the creature?
Oh, so when we were the humans with the past humans, but then the future humans, and then what about the smoke? There was like oily, black badness.
yes, when we only had one half of the artifact. Looking through it, we could see something that ties the black tide to things the humans of Saltmarsh have done on land, like black oil and tar and winds all combined, linking different things and the dead from the sea.
I am not as wise as I wish I was for the sake of my people. There is one that might know, and for this you will have to journey to a place that I would not send anyone, so you must understand you are under no obligation to fulfill this. You need to seek out Gadra the Ancient. Only Gadra will be able to provide you with the information that you are asking. It does seem, however, vital that we solve this before we move against the Kraken. For whatever terrible weaponry we might bring against it, I doubt there is anything that we will be able to do to harm this creature that is already dead. Gadra the Ancient will know the way. Are you willing to undertake this journey to find Gadra? Before you answer this, Captain, you must know where Gadra the Ancient dwells.
Yeah. Thanks.
Gadra the Ancient dwells in the pit of Golgur.
In the pit?
And we'll be back next week when the adventures of the Curse of Saltmarsh adventures. It's all just chaos.
It's the Curse of Saltmarsh.
It's the Curse of Saltmarsh. It's the I don't know what it is. It's just Ghost of Saltmarsh. Ghost of Saltmarsh. Ghost of Saltmarsh will continue next week as we move forward towards the pit of Golgur, supposedly a bottomless pit from which the Kraken itself originated. Oh, let's see what happens next week. Remember, you can find us here. Next week, same time, same place. There are some date and time changes that will be happening on the 20th and 27th, but we will let you know. Look out for those times. We're moving earlier in those time slots to accommodate other shows. But next week, we will be here at 1 o'clock. Big shout out to our wonderful sponsors. That's World Anvil. Find all the characters and all information about the campaign on worldanvil.com. Moderators in the chat, if you please. We've also got Dungeon Fog, where all of the wonderful maps you saw today were manufactured for us, and Fantasy Grounds, all those wonderful rolls and spell powers and things brought to you by Fantasy Grounds. And to my wonderful players, I thank you for keeping it completely and utterly up the tree as far as I'm concerned. It was a lot of fun. To all of you watching, I thank you for watching. Remember, you can join us after the show in about 10 minutes on twitch.tv/greatgm for a chat with the cast in Below the Decks. Come and chat to us for half an hour. Until next week, however, from us, until next time, goodbye.